Dealing with hypersensitive but when is it too much? Too long didn't read. Wife says I should leave because I say I am not responsible for her actions. Hi community, I don't post a lot but I have a question for you guys. My wife, F30, and I, M27, have been married for 5 years now. I've known her for 8 years. She is obviously leaning towards the hypersensitive type, but sometimes I wonder, when is it too much? Take this example. So the other day we had a discussion about indigenous issues where we were disagreeing about some stuff. So far so good. At one point she snaps and she says that I stress her out so much by what I'm saying, and that she doesn't want me to talk to her about indigenous stuff. If you are wondering what we were talking about, I was telling her that in my indigenous class, my professor, who's been defending indigenous people in court for 25 years, made us read this book that basically says to not generalize indigenous experiences because some of them had different views about the band Kuzul in the 19th century. She thinks having this point of view is offensive. I'm trying not to say the words CC here. Anyways, she starts drinking some wine, eating cheese, yelling at me, and closing doors really hard. Okay. The next day she tells me that she's mad at me for making her do all these behaviors and that I'm responsible for it. I then tell her that first, hey, I understand that you made actions that you might regret here, but hey, it's normal to disagree on stuff. B, we have to be adults here and acknowledge viewpoint diversity. C, that we are individuality responsable for our behaviors. That's when she bluntly says, well then I want you to leave this house in a month. I don't want to live with you anymore. If you say you are not responsible for my actions to some degree, I want to live alone. And then she leaves the room. After not talking to her for an hour and being in another room, she comes back and doubles down. I really want to live alone. It's the only thing that makes sense, right? You have 1 month. What do you guys think? Thank you. On face value, yeah, that interaction is exhausting and I wouldn't stay in a relationship dealing with it constantly. Subjectively, it also sounds like you're both trying to win. You perceive your topic as being innocuous and possibly more correct because it came from someone who is an expert. She found the viewpoint offensive. I don't. Why? Because you only explained your opinion's reasoning. Don't think it matters that I know both sides of the argument. It's just interesting you more fully presented your own before getting into her actions. Her actions are her responsibility, for sure. But why did this escalate to her wanting you out? I'll be honest, and this is subjective, but my ex could have written this post about me, however he would have left out the parts where, in the original discussion, he shut me down rather than discuss with me, then followed me around when I was frustrated explaining how I should have acted until I snapped and told him to get away from me. If no version of the above is how it went down, then from what you've written, you're not wrong in that being an unhealthy dynamic, and if my partner was regularly telling me to get out, at this point I just would. Life's too short to tit for tat until we're both mad every day. I think she just ended the marriage, didn't she? In a totally roundabout, chicken shit, and manipulative way, she ended your marriage. Look, this isn't about being overly sensitive. This is about failing to take responsibility for oneself and throwing out vague, manipulative boundaries. Speak to a lawyer, then go talk to a therapist. Your own. These first discussions are not shared discussions. Your wife made that call. You don't exist at your wife's whims, and you may have some hard choices to face in the near future. Choices your wife seems unlikely to participate in a mature, sensible way. You need some support and a place to think this through. Hopefully, your wife will join you in counseling and seek out the support she needs herself to improve her thinking and behaviors. But you can't live on hope alone. In the near term, get support for yourself regardless of what she wants or does. You need it. Many people sadly don't understand that they control their actions and reactions. It's easier to say, you made me act that way, than it is to take full responsibility for being an asshat. The fact that this situation caused her to go straight to you moving out and her living alone sounds like an excuse to blame you for something she's already been wanting. I basically refuse to talk to my dad about any controversial real-world issues now. Politics/diversity/basic morals, because our opinions differ so much, and he gets all upset, and really butthurt, and ugly, and infantile about things. Throws little tantrums and resorts to name-calling, huffing around, slamming doors etc. It's exhausting and a nightmare for me. It's like we'll be having a normal calm conversation and then a switch flips and he freaks out. No warning. He's always been like that. But it's worse now that the world is so divided. We have very poor communication with each other when it comes to certain things. And he never apologizes, and treats me like a child even though I'm almost 30. All that to say, some people just have issues with emotional maturity. Is she overreacting? You betcha. Sounds like a bona fide drama queen. I'd recommend couples counseling, although I know that's not practical for everyone. Well then I want you to leave this house in a month. You need to speak to a lawyer, right now. Do not let her force you out of the marital home. Then you either get into couples counseling or get yourself a divorce lawyer. My 24F boyfriend, 27M, of a year and a half has been lying to me this whole time. Hey all, so where to begin? I'm using a different account since he knows my Reddit handle. I started seeing my boyfriend Rick Carter, fake name, about a year and a half ago after we met on Tinder. We hit it off pretty well. We both lived at the same apartment complex, were from the same city living in a different city, and had quite a bit in common. Over the year and a half we've gotten to know each other quite well and I have fallen in love and care quite deeply for him. Right from the get-go he's always treated me very well and has always been respectful. He's not wealthy by any means, but he does buy me meals quite often and gets me nice gifts for birthdays and Christmas. I do frequently cook at home for him, so I feel like we have a good balance. However, he never expects anything from me. He's always thankful when I do cook and is a respectful lover. He is a very private person, he does not do social media. And he loves to travel, and has even thought about where he'd go when he's able to. He even talked about tagging me along. Now he has a lot on his plate, especially when it comes to his mom. She has a lot of health issues and often needs to leave or is late because of her, but I've always been understanding and it really isn't that big of a deal to me. I'm glad he takes care of her. Overall I'm quite happy with him, but as my mom has pointed out, she has noticed some odd behaviors. My mother and I are quite close. She's a very wonderful, caring person and I trust her opinion. I know she just wants what is best for me. But it is true, some things are just quite odd. For one, he has never spent the night. In my head I conjured it up to the fact that he might have to leave to visit his mom in the middle of the night. 2, I've never met his mom. Before all this started I did want to meet her. But now with the pandemic I totally understand him wanting to be especially cautious since she's so frail. 3, I've never met any of his friends or someone else who knows him. Again, the pandemic has made this easy to dismiss, but even before COVID it never happened. 4, I've never been to his place. We lived in the same apartments, yet he was always at my place. He claimed to like the privacy more since I only had one roommate where he had 2. And he didn't have a TV in his room like I did. We watch a lot of movies. And now I have moved out of those apartments and live alone, so we're always at my place. All of these do have some valid excuses, but it still feels weird. For a while I've wanted him to meet my mom, and it finally happened not too long ago. We went out to dinner and everything went well. My mom thought he was very nice and respectful. But this is where things get interesting. Unbeknownst to me at the time, she took his license plate number. For the longest time, I tried looking him up on social media, but never could find him. However, I know he didn't want his family finding him. They don't sound like good people, so from my understanding he wiped everything clean. No trace of him on the internet, or so I thought. I talked to my mom on the phone today, and it turns out she had done some research on him. Due to her job she is in a position to look certain things up, and the results were shocking to say the least. So he told me his last name is Carter, but my mom was unable to find anyone by the name of Rick Carter in the system she uses in our original city. So she looked up Rick C and his birthday and found someone by the name Rick C. Campbell. Last and first name have the same initial. And looking up the license plate, it doesn't show you directly the name, it only tells you if it's right or wrong. Rick Carter was not correct, but Campbell was. He's told me his last name is Carter, even on the pizza delivery box it showed his last name as Carter. I was in disbelief, surely this couldn't be true. However, after looking up the name Rick Campbell, I found an old picture of him. I knew his Facebook was deactivated, but I looked it up anyways. The first result showed a profile picture of one of his favorite travel destinations. I knew it was him, all the proof points to him lying. His Tinder also shows him as being 27, but Rick Campbell is 30 according to everything we found. I'm in total shock. I don't know what he would get out of lying. I don't come from money, and I feel like he really cares about me. He bought me stuff when I was sick and stayed up late when I traveled 3 hours to go visit my family in the original city just to make sure I got there okay. He almost always buys me dinner and never expects anything from me. The only thing I could think of is trying to hide from his family. Otherwise, I don't know why he'd lie about his last name and age. Knowing this, I know I need to discuss this with him, but I don't know how to bring it up. Obviously, I don't want him knowing it was my mom who brought this to my attention. I just don't know what to do in this situation. Any help is appreciated. Too long didn't read. My boyfriend of a year and a half lied to me about his last name and his age. It's very clear that he's going home to his wife/girlfriend every night. I'm sorry, Op. He's got a wife. You're the side piece. I'm so sorry, frown. His mother is his wife or girlfriend. The fact he's never spent the night at your place makes it very obvious. Too many red flags besides that for me to sugarcoat it. He's playing you and you need to leave him immediately. Every time I've heard a storyline this, they're the other woman. I fell for the stupid lies too. Cut ties as quickly as possible. Jesus Christ, Op, I''M.M.A. Be blunt because I think you need it. You are dating a con man. You realistically know nothing about him. He's not once been honest with you in the last 18 months. If you are in the US, I encourage you to go down to your local PD and get a background check. I know 3 different women who have found themselves in this same position. One of which is my best friend. The guy lied about his name and age. A private investigator hired by his ex-wife tracked him down for his child support. Ex contacted my friend didn't listen, guy eventually beat her up really badly. He split once her dad called the police. Here's what he was hiding: 3 children, his actual name, being 10 years older than he said he was, a criminal history of 12 years in prison for identity theft and meth. He was actually voluntarily homeless in order to avoid paying child support. Woman 2, guy lied about his name, age and where he was from. Previous prison time for illegal weapons trading and narcotics. Also a deadbeat dad with 2 kids who moved across country to avoid child support. Woman 3, guy literally had mob ties, criminal history of sex trafficking and burglary. Was actually 40, pretending to be 30 and dating a 22-year-old. So frankly, you don't need to talk to him about it. For your safety, you absolutely should not. What you need to do is send him a text telling him not to contact you again, and if he does, you will go to the cops. He'll figure it the fuck out. He did not need to lie about his name and age to hide from his family. There's no logical connection there. Be smart, be safe. My 25F BF 31 meters has aggression problems but doesn't want to get help. My 25F BF 31 meters has aggression problems but doesn't want to get help. My BF for 3 years often has outbreaks of aggression and frustration that he can't control, apparently, in everyday situations. This is affecting our relationship as it is very exhausting for both of us. I will give you some examples of situations that would trigger him. Not finding stuff, like fresh socks, the remote, his phone charger, keys etc. within maximum 3 to 5 seconds, getting home when it's cold outside as he's feeling too warm in his jacket, until he gets rid of it, being late. His mood will then change within 1 second from relaxed to extremely tense. He will start shouting and get up, throwing stuff around while he is searching for whatever he is looking for, hitting the wall, hitting the door, etc. Every attempt to help him, like trying to find whatever he is looking for or trying to talk him down, is rather making it worse than better. It is impossible for me to just ignore it, even if I try. It is stressing me out as there is this aggressive ambience. Sometimes I am even a little scared, even if I know he would never harm me, but he seems so out of place. In bad weeks this happens several times daily, in good weeks only once or twice per week. I talked with him about it several times already, also that it is affecting the way I act around him, as I'm always trying to avoid him getting upset. He also agreed that he needs help, but I know he doesn't want to. Also, he didn't try to talk to a therapist or get literature about it. He still seems to think that he can somehow learn to control it on his own, and I can notice he is trying. But it always lasts only for a few weeks and it doesn't help in the long term. I don't know what to do. I can try to talk to him again and again, but if it's not coming from himself, I don't think that it makes any sense. Sometimes we get in a fight about it because I get upset as well, thinking stuff like, how can it be that I am putting effort in having a nice and harmonic home, including working on myself, and he just doesn't care at all and just lets go of all self-control, raging around like a ball. I'm afraid that the day will come that I can't stand it anymore, even if apart from that we have a great relationship. What can I do? Too long didn't read. My boyfriend has outbursts of aggression on a daily basis and it's affecting our relationship. What can I do?